Hello, Taurus. Great to have you here. My name is Shona. Today's reading is a general love forecast for November 2025. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way, Taurus. Hello there, Taurus. Welcome to your mid-month reading. So as I mentioned for all the other signs, I remember last week you've got a really exciting image, and I feel like the energy lifted a little bit. So I feel like I might be speaking to another crowd, which is good because the energy last week was a little bit tragic. It was just like, it made me really sad. This time, I feel like it's changed a little bit. So I think I'm speaking to a different crowd that's watching this. So either way, when I was shuffling out the spread, what I see is I see this woman. She's wearing like Victorian clothing, and I don't know why I keep getting, clothing or time periods from like way past and not anything in present time. Like, why can't they just wear trousers and a t-shirt? But she's a Victorian woman. It seems like, it's the dress from a long time ago. It's kind of poofy, and she's pacing back and forth in her parlor. There are two chairs in front of her. She looks like she's 30, and she looks like she could be a mother, like a wife. She definitely looks like she has children, but I don't see any kids. I don't see a husband, but either way, there are two couches, and then there's like a table in the middle, and there's a telephone, and she's pacing back and forth, hoping the telephone would ring. So she was just pacing back and forth, and in my vision, it didn't ring. She just paces, and then it stops. So that signifies to me that you're definitely waiting on a phone call, for sure. Literally, you're waiting around for a phone call. You're waiting around for important information. You're waiting around for people to make up their mind, and so that they can give you the signal and that you can move forward. And I feel for many of you, this is more on the business front. This is more like the fact that she's pacing, I feel like she's concerned about somebody. Like, what's the status? Are they going to be okay? Is there anything I need to do on my end to follow up? And I honestly feel like for some of you, you might be dealing with children who might have gotten into some type of legal trouble, or they are like, I'm seeing like, possibly, okay, and I don't want to relay this information. It's not going to apply to all, but I do see like possibly getting a DUI, getting arrested, getting stopped, or something like that. I feel like some dealing with younger kids who might have legal issues. Possibly like the principal calling home and, saying like, why wasn't your kid in school, like cutting class? Because the woman is in her 30s, so I would imagine her kids would be like, younger than 15, I would hope. So younger than 15. So, and it's also different time period. So, if women had children at a younger age, then they would be possibly 15 or younger. So that's just my assessment. And I feel like, so there's like news, worried about communication from somebody. I also feel like you might have visitors, and then you're picking them up at the airport, and you're waiting on news, like what's going on, when is your flight gonna get here, is your flight delayed? So I see elements of travel delays, anticipation, waiting for a person, waiting to work out the logistics. And then I'm also feeling in the work front too, I'm seeing people who are handling like complex situations, like complex cases that affect other people's lives, okay? And then you're just like waiting for clearance, waiting for I'm hearing a smear on somebody's record, like a smear on somebody's record, and I'm seeing smeared fingerprints. So you could be in law enforcement, you could be doing something related to scanning people's fingerprints and trying to make sure if the fingerprints match a certain person. So I do feel that like clearance or things that are on their criminal record and things like that. So that's what I'm picking up. And then at work too, waiting on decisions of other people. Okay, so it's like things escalating to the up through the chain of command. And so people are kind of sitting on it, not really making a move, or they thought they might have had, a certain amount of money to devote to a project, and then the project gets scrapped, and then you're waiting to see, like, before you know the project is getting scrapped. I feel like people are waiting for, that final say. And then I feel as well, I'm seeing you looking through a lot of papers, like sorting through things like an employee file, not that you're snooping. I don't feel that you're snooping, but you're trying to figure out, like, okay, what would they qualify for? Where did they go to school? Things like that. Like, you might be in a supervisory position and you're looking through somebody's files, one of your employees, and you're trying to understand them. You could also be working with younger children, looking through their transcript, trying to, figure out what kind of student they are. So things like that. You're definitely in a position of power, and you're making some big decisions that affect other people's lives. But I also feel like things do have to get escalated to the chain, up through the chain of command. I'm seeing a lot of dealings when it comes to in-laws. Okay, a lot of family and a lot of in-laws. So I'm feeling some of you are dreading a trip to go see in-laws. Not that you don't like the people. I feel like you like the people. It's just like it's kind of a burden, because I feel like you have things you need to do. You have things you need to take care of. So this is something that you're doing, oh, out of obligation. Okay, so that makes sense. Out of obligation. So I felt that energy, emotionally obligated to do something. So you might have, you might be married, and your wife, for example, says, "Oh, my brother is hosting a big party, or my brother wants us to visit because he visited us last time." So you might have to, make that trip. And I feel as well, you could have a husband who wants to spend time with his family, and then you might have to, take the kids and travel with him to see his family. So there is a sense of like emotional obligation that you have to do something because it's expected of you. Okay? So let's sweep that energy aside, because there is an overall message here that's a little bit deeper, because the other things I feel were more on the mundane front. And it's really interesting with Taurus reading, there are always layers. The first thing is just like the mundane, the everyday things, and then underneath that is this undercurrent, which is like a really complex story. So what I feel is, I feel like someone loves you a lot more than you love them. And I'm so sorry for cross watchers. Obviously, this reading is meant for the Taurian person, okay? I feel like there's somebody who loves you a lot more than you love them, and you're trying to assess the situation. And I feel like that's for those in relationships. For those in relationships. I feel like the other person will give the shirt off their back. And I definitely feel like you're holding back. I feel like you are very picky, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can be as picky as we want. It's our life, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making any type of a judgment call. What I feel though is, one day when they do something amazing, you love them. And then the next day when they throw their tantrums, or when they're difficult, or when you feel like they're being petty, you might love them less. And so every day you are constantly reassessing your feelings for this person. And I feel like it's a little bit unfair for the other person because they give you their all, they give you 100%. And, we all have our tantrums. We all go through bad days. But I feel like emotionally, they're very, very consistent every day with you. They're very, very consistent. But I feel like you are not as consistent as they are towards you. So I feel almost like holding a little bit of a grudge from your end. And I also feel like you might constantly assess the relationship. And what it seems like to me underlying, in the underlying current is that you might not be in love with them. That's why you're constantly reassessing the relationship. Because when we love, and when you're in love. So that's why I feel like this reading is more for the Taurus people, not so much the cross watchers, because the Taurus will know whether or not they're in love. And I feel like you care about the other person. You care, you really care. And it's kind of, you've been in the relationship for quite some time. It's kind of hard for you to imagine anything otherwise, like not having them in your life, or God forbid, like something happens to them, you would be very devastated. So I feel like, there is a certain degree here where you really care about that person. But I feel almost like this constant reassessment. Am I in love? I loved them yesterday, and today they did this one thing, and I keep dwelling on it, and I'm fixated on this one thing, so I love them a little bit less today. But I feel like you're constantly reassessing. Okay. um that's what I was picking up. And I feel almost as though your heart is elsewhere as well. Your heart might be elsewhere. So I feel like you have emotionally walked out of a situation, like emotionally, like physically you're still there, mentally you're still there. But emotionally, something has gone awry within the past few months with you guys, where you stay in a situation because of that emotional obligation, but you're not 100% emotionally invested. You're not emotionally there. I feel like you're just a warm body in that chair, in that role, in that capacity. You're just kind of like going through the motions. That's what it feels like to me. Like emotionally, you're not invested anymore. So if it's a job, for example, if it's a job, you're just a warm body going in, clocking in your hours, taking your lunch break, and then clocking out. Like you actually do the work. But I feel like in terms of personal enjoyment and personal satisfaction, job satisfaction, I feel like it's not really there anymore. And then I feel like if it's a relationship, there's a sense of vacancy. And the other person loves you. They really, really love you, and you care about them. So I feel like it's really important for you to kind of sort out your feelings here. I feel like the two of you have been through a lot together, major milestones together. Um, what I have here is the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Cups. And what this means to me is, they're in the same environment, in the same atmosphere. They could be the same types of people. Like they have a very similar upbringing, similar history, same environment. And because of that, there's compatibility. And it gets to the point where, sometimes when we're very, very comfortable with the other person, we tend to as well take them for granted. And we tend to kind of let the passion, kind of diminish in the relationship because it's gotten too comfortable, I feel. That's what it feels like to me. It's a comforting, familiar relationship. So, going back to the telephone, I feel like some of you might have somebody that you're interested in, okay? And it could be, you could be in a relationship or you could be single. And I see a fire sign energy, Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo. I feel like, once again, this person is culturally very different from you. Um, you guys have totally different interests, and you guys are just very, very different from one another. And what I see here is the ox looking at the lion. So for some of you, it could be a Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, Leo, or, I have as well Cancerian energy. And what I feel is, and this message, I feel like you're thinking, whoever it is that you are eyeing, you could be single or married, but whoever it is that you're eyeing, I feel like they are in a different environment from you. They're further away because the background is different. And you're waiting for communication and contact with this person. And you're waiting, you're telling yourself, I'll go for it if they told me how they feel, if they reveal to me, if they give me a sign, if they give me a signal, if they give me a message, if they give me a text, if they give me an email, if they just, somehow reach out to me, I'm going to make a move. I'm going to go for it. And I feel like there's going to be communication. There's going to be communication. They're also, I just feel like they're very attracted to you, but I feel like they understand in a way that you both want different things, or you both are on different paths, or you both belong to different environments. That's what it feels like to me. It's almost like this watery area is very comforting and very comfortable, but this fire energy, Princess of Wands, they want excitement, they want newness. And so they have an understanding that you guys might not want the same things. That is really hard to coordinate and it's really hard to move forward together. But there is going to be communication between you and this person. I'm also sensing as well, there is somebody who's traveling long distances over water. There's somebody who's traveling by land, but they're going very far, okay? Um, and there's a sense here of, send me pictures of your travel. Where have you been? Show me pictures. So I don't know if these are just, it's almost like telling somebody, I really want to see you, but rather than saying that, you're like, hey, take pictures of where you've been. I want to see. And then they send you like landscape pictures of, of the scenery that they've seen along the way, rather than pictures of their face or pictures of, selfies. So I feel like, I feel that happening. Um, So, be clear with your communication. Just tell them how you feel. I'm also seeing just a lot of travel coming into the picture for you guys. Make sure you work out your logistics because I don't have completely smooth sailing energy here. So this is the Six of Swords. Safe passage, okay, when it's in the upright, when it's in the reverse position. This is sort of like needing to check our itinerary, needing to make sure that people are where they're supposed to. If so, for example, if you're staying with somebody, you need to follow up with them and you need to make sure they are where they're supposed to be. So travel delays could be, getting a flat tire, for example. Travel delay could be booking a flight and then the flight is delayed. So it could be, very severe, or weather delays, inclement weather as well. It could be very severe, it could be very mild, just like, getting a speeding ticket. Like it could be very severe or very mild, but I feel like this is not a good time for you to do things, to serve, to get around, circumvent the law. So travel at the rightful speed, and just make sure you double check your itinerary. Okay, I don't see it being smooth sailing, so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Check your engine, check your car, especially check your tires. I'm seeing the right side of the car, possibly the front wheel, the right side, passenger side. So, once again, there's just I do see visiting family. Your mother might be traveling to come see you, and you're worried, like, when is she landing? I need to pick her up, and things like that. And it's somebody you care about, so you're worried. And then I also feel as well, this constant pacing back and forth. You're very worried about something. Let me see. Where's the pacing back and forth? What is like the top thing that Taurian people are worried about? Why is there that pacing back and forth? I have here Five of Wands. Possibly this is like conflict within family members, amongst family members. Ten of Wands, somebody's moving. And I have here the Hierophant, which is your card. So this is definitely concern about family. Somebody moving, somebody who's coming to see you, you coming to see them, somebody who's making like a drastic move in their life. So hence the pacing. But I feel like underneath it is wanting somebody to reach out, and you are going to hear from them. That phone is going to ring, okay? But I feel like, once it rings, you have the message that you need. But there are other things here that indicates to me, like family members hoping that they're okay if they are moving, if they're traveling, when they're